Bienvenidos, señores y señores, to another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. So you think you know your stuff? Get in on our 200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance to win weekly prizes and a share of that 200K. So when the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. Bienvenidos, everyone. We are in vivo in the carne asada. We're doing something a little different here. We're going to do a little pregame action before the finale between the Dodgers and the Orioles. It's the rubber game, as they say. So it's a kind of an important game, I think. We're going to get into what the thoughts are on this series so far, and then we're going to talk about the big series with the Serpientes. Before we go there, though, joining us is Canelo, as always. Babyface is here. Carlos the Gambler, I think, will be joining us later to give us a live report in regards to Ohtani. But let's start off with the action. And hello to Simeon, and I know Roy is joining us. So, Canelo, there's been a lot being said about Tyler Glasnow. So I know Roy said he's not concerned with Glasnow, and as long as Yamamoto is effective when he comes back. All right, I'm going to do this to you because I'm just a jerk and I can do this, Canelo. But you were the one that told me Glasnow was fine. He was able to pitch, and stuff like that. Do you still feel that Glasnow is fine, or what are your feelings on Glasnow?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make, to back up my feelings because it's a lot of it is just, me assuming things. The Dodgers medical staff, Dave Roberts, we've played this game year in and year out. We can't believe anything that they say. Dave Roberts, the day of injury or the day of Glasnow being placed on the injury list, he said, "Oh, it's no biggie, maybe a 15-day thing." Now we're looking, they're doom and gloom right now in Dodgerland, where now it's saying hopeful that he may return. I think at the end of the day, my heart is telling me that, he should probably come back healthy, at least somewhat, because at the end of the day, I'm going to trust the player's word for maybe like 85% of it, where if he thinks he could pitch, he thinks he was good enough to go. I think if the postseason's on the line, I think the Dodgers, given everything that, they're the pressure they're on right now, they may be willing to let Glasnow even be activated if he is only 85%. Because let's just be honest, a Glasnow at 70%, 80% is better than no Glasnow at all, especially if you give him, the rest that he needs, let his arm go in fresh into October, and then we'll see what happens. But, it's increasingly becoming more and more likely, and I just wrote about it. I mean, it feels like Gavin Stone's just kind of the anchor of the rotation right now, which is a lot of pressure to put on a rookie. And it's kind of like deja vu like last year, because I made the argument where, you had to ride the hot hand going in October. The Dodgers went the opposite way. They didn't go with Bobby Miller in game one. I'm feeling if Yamamoto doesn't bounce back super well, if Glasnow's still kind of on the fritz of coming back or being shut down for the rest of the season, I mean, you kind of got to put all your chips in with Gavin Stone right now because he's earned it. But I'm not too worried about the Glasnow news. I'll be a little bit optimistic. I think this is kind of just Dodger talk. They can't get in trouble saying that he isn't healthy or 100%, so they're just going to, give the same spiel, and I assume he'll be back in September. You're muted, Juan.
I'm sorry. I was so shocked by Carlos the Gambler show.
Early entrance to the Danny Duffy Award.
Exactly. I'm in the front. I'm the front runner right now. I just got surprised by the Carlos the Gambler showing up already. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to get ready because we're going to go to see you for our report on Ohtani. So, but Babyface, were you there, or is this update on Glasnow from today?
That one's from today. He did mention it yesterday that he's supposed to throw. I believe it's Friday or play catch on Friday in Arizona. He mentioned that yesterday, but every time he mentions it, it's kind of like the days are passing by, right? And he needs to go out there and he needs to start playing catch and he needs to get it going because if days continue to pass and he doesn't do that, then obviously it puts the rest of the season in jeopardy. So I think just today that was kind of added. Well, we don't know exactly if he'll be back by the end of the season.
I think the thing is also, all right, even if he does make it, the clock is ticking. Usually pitchers, I think, use this month of September to try to get into a rhythm so you can carry that rhythm into the postseason. And I think not only Glasnow, but Yamamoto is going to be up against it. How many starts is Yamamoto going to get before the playoffs start? Yeah, okay, he might be well enough to pitch, or he might be out there, just gritting through it, but is he going to be effective? Because what concerns me, honestly, is very easily they can give up 3 runs in the postseason. And I am just not confident that the Dodgers offense can overcome being done 3 runs in a playoff game, because they're going to be facing teams that are hot or teams that have good pitching. Carlos the Gambler, we're talking about the whether we should panic about how the Glasnow return keeps getting pushed back. What are your thoughts on Glasnow, Carlos?
Well, I think what Cody had said, I think that's the X factor. What does Yamamoto look like coming back? Because you need one of them. You can't have both out for the playoffs. You need one of them. Because look, I'm 100% in on Flaherty. I'm 100% in on Stone. I think he had that little low early on between, because he started hot, then he had a little low, and now he's back up. He's pitching. He's a pitcher's right now. Buehler, I was at the game yesterday. He looked good. Those errors, you should have seen him. They eventually showed it, but he was so frustrated. He ran into the dugout. I don't know if you guys covered that, and he slammed his glove on the bench. And it's so funny because I mean, we're Dodger fans. We've been watching Buehler since he was a rookie. I knew he was going to get pissed. So I was watching him when I was in the stands. I was watching him walk into the dugout to see what he was going to do. And sure enough, he slammed his glove. It wasn't his fault. Muncy's got to make that throw. Will Smith, he can't just assume that it didn't touch the ground. That was 2 outs. They wouldn't have scored any runs. And it's so hard to put it on him and say, oh, he could have just kind of got out of that, snap out of that and pitch the rest of the inning and got out. No, it's not that simple. It's frustrating when the guys are not doing basic plays. So he pitched well yesterday. He had a lot of swing and misses. I like Miller from the last game. He had 9 strikeouts. I think Roger and I covered that on the rewind. So he looked good too. So I'm not concerned. I'm only concerned if both Glasnow and Yamamoto couldn't come back. But if I'll take one. And then what Cody said, I'll take Glasnow 80%. But Kershaw, I mean, he looked good 2 starts ago. The last start, he had a bad first inning. Overall, he did pretty well. He allowed 1 more inning through 5. So it wasn't a bad overall game for Kershaw. So am I worried? The answer is no. I was teasing Roger and where's Juan? MLB says the Dodgers are number 1 in the league, man. So
I am not falling for the banana in the tailpipe.
It's okay. Okay. I will fall for it, and
I'll fall for it too,
100
Carlos.
times.
I got you.
They're a good team. They're a good team. You know what? I remember D-backs and Padres. Remember, I told you they couldn't sustain that kind of play. They
have sustained it just because they lost one series. The
Padres are 5-5 in the last 10 games. You hear that?
Overall in the second half,
they're 1, 2, and 3. The
Diamondbacks
are 7-3 in their last 10 games, and so are the Dodgers. Let's just watch this series this weekend.
I wish I had your guys' confidence. I want to see the game through your guys' eyes, because you guys, the fact that Flaherty always seems to be pitching with traffic, that he is subject to the home run ball, that doesn't worry you guys? The fact that we're going to have Glasnow and Yamamoto, and I know this is probably the Dodgers' plan all along, is to hope that these guys give you 5 innings in the postseason. So then in a short series, you're going to ask your relievers to cover 4 innings. And we see, okay, they may be able to do it one game, but look, that game on last weekend against the Rayos, they should have swept the Rayos, even after Kershaw had that rough start. But there were a couple factors that came in there that I'm just like, oh no, this is the playoffs. Where
right, but
the bullpen, you don't know what you're going to get with the bullpen. And I don't know if you guys covered this on the rewind, but I think Roberts got outmanaged by Cash in those last 2 innings.
Exactly. And it's something that Cody had said the previous live, that we need to start, emphasizing people's roles. Why did he switch Phillips and Kopech in that game? I guarantee you, look, you listen to Oro on the telecast, he'll tell you it's so hard for a reliever to come in the 7th, 8th inning.
I can't listen to Oro, Carlos, because he is such a homer. He is such a ball washer that I am just like, bro, just don't lie to me. Like he literally said this. He said, if I'm being critical, Buehler hung that pitch. And it's like, that's your job. Your job is to explain what happened out there.
Yeah. Hey, look, that side of the game, you brought it up. Roberts did get outmanaged. He I don't know why he switched those guys. That was a stupid move. That just didn't make any sense. And sure enough, he gave up a run. Phillips gives up the home run. Joe Kelly gives up the 2-run home run. Yeah, it was garbage. But I blame that one on Roberts. The bullpen, that, like we said, they have to have roles. They got to have roles. It's not like, okay, today you're closing and tomorrow you're closing. That doesn't make any sense, And you can't go into the playoffs that way. So I don't think he is, but hopefully he learned from that game. So hopefully Kopech never throws another 7th or 8th inning the rest of the season.
Canelo over here is like jumping from state to state. Like 1 minute he's just like, yes, the sky is falling. The other minute he's like, no pasa nada, everything is fine. Are you like, Carlos, a gambler is telling me the Dodgers are the best team on paper. They have the best record. So why don't I feel more confident going into the playoffs?
I mean, I think my biggest issue is that I still do see the holes in this team. Everything you said is valid criticism. It's just that I look at every other team in the National League and even in the entire league, it's that every team is just so, they have their issues, and it's higher than I've ever seen before, before like 2021, 2022, and like 2020, 2019, there was a lot of top tier MLB teams that just had little to no holes, and the Dodgers were usually among them. And then if they had 1 or 2 issues, they got exploited on those in the playoffs. Where this year, I think the biggest issue for them is just the starting rotation, and I've watched them in 2020 kind of manage around that, and I think they can still possibly do that right now. I look at the Phillies, they have a lot of holes that, honestly, if you're going to ask me the 2 best teams in the National League right now, it's the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers. And the Diamondbacks right now, they're getting healthy. They're playing very, very good baseball. They technically have the best record since the All-Star break, and Carlos, to his point, brought it up right. It goes Diamondbacks, Padres, Dodgers, 1, 2, 3. But, I'm still optimistic about what I've seen from this team, especially on this homestand, especially since everybody's came back like healthy, and the lineup is starting to be the lineup that they constructed in the offseason, or especially when they went to the trade deadline, got guys like Tommy Edman, Kevin Kiermaier. I think there's going to be at least 1 or 2 guys getting called up in September. I think Andy Paz is going to come back. He's looked really well in AAA. But this team isn't perfect. I just don't think any team in the league is perfect. And I think the Dodgers, at the right time, despite the injuries in the rotation, are kind of getting healthy at the right time compared to these other teams. And now you're seeing, like what Carlos said, this is the best team on paper, and they're starting to come back. And if we can get at least one of Glasnow or Yamamoto, I'm pretty solid with the starting rotation, especially with what, we saw glimpses of, Buehler last night. We saw a good Bobby Miller against the Rays. We'll see what he does today and see if he can build off that start. Then I start looking at, what's the outlook. I think it's going to be really telling. And I said this on the last live. I'm going to really hold a lot of my judgment for this upcoming 4-game series against the Diamondbacks because, the Diamondbacks are sending their heavy hitters. We're going to see, Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen, and Eduardo Rodriguez, who is finally back. We haven't seen him this season. And the Dodgers are kind of sending some of their postseason arms. Flaherty's going to get a start. Gavin Stone's going to get a start as well. And you have a veteran in Kershaw. So we'll see what happens. But I think you can be optimistic about the team, but I also think you can be critical, which, I've been both in the past and currently right now. So we'll see what happens, but I'm sure I'll change my mind if the D-back series goes horribly wrong.
I think you make an excellent point in the fact that I feel every team in Major League Baseball right now is in the same boat. And the perfect example is look at this series right now between the Dodgers and the Orioles, okay? The Orioles are fighting for the best record also in Major League Baseball. Before yesterday's game, they were 1 game behind the Yankees, and so they're all neck and neck. But that first game was a really good game. That felt like a playoff game, and the Dodgers they couldn't break through. They had opportunities with runners in scoring position, and they just couldn't get the hit. What does that sound like? That sounds like every playoff lately for the Dodgers, right? But then yesterday, the Orioles played a horrible game. Defensively, they were a mess, and they allowed the Dodgers to go back into that game. Now, yeah, I know you can say the Dodgers did the same thing for the Orioles. So it does feel like everything is even. So to me, the big difference is going to be who's hot, right? Who's hot once the playoffs start. Now, PJ brought is Walker back for the Dodgers series. I don't think Walker is going to, not Walker Buehler, the Walker on the
3 home run Walker, yes. Dodger killer Walker.
Exactly. So, Carlos the Gambler, I got to ask you, I don't think we're going to see Walker this weekend. But if the Dodgers pull the Serpientes again in the playoffs, how many times should they pitch to Walker?
They should definitely pitch around him. They should, if the bases are empty, yes. If the bases have someone's on base, I think they should do the intentional walk. Don't give him anything good to hit, and you don't want to give him 2-run jacks and stuff like that. So, I mean that's one player you can't let him. You know how they say, don't let this guy beat you. You know that this guy's good. Don't let him beat you. Let somebody else beat you. And that's something the Dodgers should definitely take in consideration when they're playing the D-backs if they play him in the playoffs. Because the way it's set up right now, it's the D-backs and Padres. One of them's got to fall, and I could see them going for like a nice long series. Hopefully they wear each other out and we get the guy, because right now we're number 1 seed. We'll end up playing one of them.
Yeah. Let's talk about the injuries real quick, because it was announced today that Austin Barnes has come back, and poor Hunter Fiducia. I don't know. I mean, at this point, if you're a Hunter Fiducia, I don't know if you're just going to, hey guys, can you just trade me? Because I'm never going to get an opportunity. And I don't know, I know Doom Sal's on the chat. So Doom, give me a progress report on Hunter Fiducia. Is that guy an actual MLB player? If not, because, this guy could not get playing time. I think the only reason why he played on Sunday was because it was a day game and because Gavin Stone was pitching, and he's caught Gavin Stone before. But other than that, Hunter Fiducia couldn't get on the field. I'm going to set this up because I know that Canelo has some things that he wants to say about Will Smith. But Austin Barnes is back. Hunter Fiducia got optioned. Canelo, before I set you up for Will Smith, I do want to just ask you this. Austin Barnes had a fractured toe. We see what Freddie Freeman is dealing with a hairline fracture on his finger. Is Austin Barnes being rushed back because Kershaw looked really bad in the first inning throwing to Will Smith? And you're the numbers guy, so you can back this up for me. Those starts in St. Louis or those other starts where Kershaw has looked really good, hasn't that been with Austin Barnes catching him?
Yeah, that's typically what we've seen with Kershaw. He has his personal catcher. When I grew up watching, it was AJ Ellis, for a long time. And right now in this current run, it's Austin Barnes. And I will say there's definitely no shot that Austin Barnes is 100% healthy with his foot. There's just no way, because a fracture, even like a hairline fracture, what's going on with Freddie Freeman's finger, it's usually a 6 to 8 week recovery almost, where it's like, and that's like saying, do nothing athletic, let it heal. And being a catcher, squatting down, and maybe it's a little bit, get your adrenaline pumping, take some ibuprofen before the game, and then you start squatting down. Maybe you can deal with it, especially if you only start maybe one game a week, which I think is doable for Barnes. He's a good game caller, and I think Kershaw definitely did miss having him, call the game. And that's something that I think not only have I been hypercritical on with Will Smith, but I think a lot of fans have caught on to it as well, where Smith, he's done a great job making adjustments from last season, where he actually leads, in terms of caught stealing. He's thrown out the most runners in baseball
I
this
am
year.
very impressed by that. And that to me is huge.
But for whatever reason, I just don't agree with his pitch calling sometimes. And that's when I kind of had conversations with my friends. I'm like, well, who's really calling the pitches? Is the pitcher calling the pitches? Is Will Smith calling the pitches? Is Dave Roberts shooting up a sign from, the dugout? We don't really know unless someone asks them, and no one's really asked them, like, who's calling the pitch sequences there. And it's hard to tell now because with the pitch comms and the hat and all that. So, but yeah, I definitely think they're rushing Barnes back, but I think you can get away with it because he is just a bench bat. He never really gets pinch hit appearances. He never really gets, pinch run appearances. He really just starts his one game, and it's usually Kershaw Day and maybe a day game on Sunday. So, but I think the Dodgers will benefit having him, his presence calling games again.
All right, give me your Will Smith take.
Yeah, I don't know. It's obviously it's easy to judge the guy right now because he's in a massive slump, probably since people want to say since the second half started. It's been way before that. It's kind of been after March and April. It's kind of just been a steep decline. I mean, if you look at his the first month or two of the season, he had a 362, 403, and 543 slash line with the 159 WRC plus. He was pretty much one of the best hitters. Everyone was saying, oh, that's why we gave him a 10-year contract. Hell yeah, he's the best catcher in baseball. And it's just month after month, it's gone down. And this month, particularly in August, has been his worst month of his season. And he's only batting 172. He's pretty much a below league average bat right now, only a 536 OPS. He's striking out. His striking out clip is going up month after month. And I get it because, I caught, my entire life. It's a very tiring position. And I can't even imagine doing it, 5 or 6 days a week and then being asked to be one of the team's best offensive hitters. It's just, it's unheard of. It's not until recently where we've seen good hitting catchers, and usually what happens with them is they get moved to different positions or they slot with DH. But fortunately, Will Smith doesn't have that luxury on this team. Freddie Freeman's at first base, Max Muncy's at third, and the DH spot is taken up by Shohei Ohtani. I brought up he's done a really good job defensively this season, especially in terms of throwing out runners. The Dodgers last year had a huge issue, not only keeping runners on, but also just getting those runners thrown out. He's in the 100th percentile, so he is the best at throwing out runners this year. However, one issue that's I've seen is he's in the 5th percentile in blocking. It just seems like he's very unathletic behind the plate, leads to a lot of wild pitches. I know when you have guys like Walker Buehler, Bobby Miller throwing to you recently, it can be really hard, especially when they're missing their spots. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Dodgers really need to consider, is he healthy? Is he ready? I know they're in the middle of a division race and where every game matters, but at some point you have to say, this guy's making us lose games. He's not really doing anything to help us win. Do we just give this guy a breather? And I'm talking about, does he need an IL stint? Does he need at least 10, 15 days off? Because you want this guy right for when October starts. And the Dodgers do have other options, especially in the minor leagues. They already have one guy that we've had on the show before, in Diego Cartaya. He's on the 40-man roster. He's been in AAA. You could just call him up for September. Be that you don't even need to make a roster move there. And if you really want to get really creative, you could just call up Dalton Rushing and add him to the 40 man and see what he has, because they've already been toying around with him coming up at some point in September as well if needed.
Yeah, I mean, PJ brought it up, and I agree with you, PJ. I don't think that this is something new with Will Smith. I think if you go back to the last 3 years, his second halves have been rough. They have been rough, and I know it seems like the Dodgers every year start to try to give him rest to try to keep him fresh so he doesn't wear down in the second half of the season. And that's why my mind is just completely baffled by the fact that Hunter Fiducia gets called up and he can't even like spell him for a game or two. Like Will Smith still caught the majority of the games while Hunter Fiducia was up. So I mean, I know it's probably a trust issue. They don't trust Fiducia, and they are in a pennant chase right now. But it is concerning to me that every year, especially in the second half, but Canelos got the numbers. This year, it started before the second half. I also think part of it is I don't know that Will Smith is a 300 hitter. I don't think the way he started in the beginning of the season that was sustainable for him. Yeah,
and most catchers aren't, and it's unfair to ask that much offensively from your catcher, especially if he has to stand behind home plate. Especially, it makes sense when you go month on month and you get further into summer, guys. Guess what? No meteorologist here, but it gets hot, and when you go on some of these away ballparks, and I can just attest to it. When they were in Philly, it was extraordinarily humid there. When you're putting all that catcher gear on, it wanes on you, and it's a hard position to play. And he just suffers from being on a team that just has nowhere else to put him just to keep his bat in the lineup. And for Fiducia, it sucks for him, but I kind of didn't expect him to get any playing time because he's 26, 27-year-old catcher. He's been in the Dodgers farm system for years. He was just added to the 40 man because if the Dodgers didn't add him, he was going to be on the Rule 5 draft, and another team could have just taken him, which they probably would have, because I believe he is a major league ready, catcher. I mean, they don't come too often, and when you're in the Dodgers system, historically they've been known to build really good catchers, and we still see that right now where they had, they just traded one of their top catchers to Detroit to bring over Flaherty, and they still have two more on the pipeline right behind Will Smith. So I think he could get playing time, but it's just a thing, like you said, they don't trust him. The pitchers that are on the team, they don't want to throw to him. They want to throw to someone that's been on the team, and Will Smith, and him starting almost every single day, back-to-back days, and day and nights, that's just not a good recipe for success for a catcher.
No, I agree. Hey, Carlos, so Roberts had said that the best version of this Dodgers lineup is with Will Smith hitting in the 4 spot. Will Smith is not hitting in the 4 spot. And if you guys have seen the lineup for tonight's game, hold on to your hats because Edman is hitting in the cleanup spot. I mean, we are in the dog days. We're going to be in September this weekend. How instrumental is Will Smith to the success of this team in the postseason, Carlos?
Yeah, he's important. He's definitely important. You can't minimize that. He's valuable. Right now it's nice that he is number one throwing runners out, because that kind of offsets a little bit of what he's doing offensively. Look, yesterday at the game, he did square up the ball. I think it was two shots. He had one shot, I think, to right center. So, I mean, yeah, the guy's struggling. I wouldn't worry about his strikeouts, because the Dodgers as a whole, as a team, strike out a lot. I mean, I think early on I was keeping stats for after the All-Star break, and Will Smith was like at 29%. The Dodgers team as a whole was at 27% strikeout per game, So they strike out a lot. I'm not concerned about that. It's more of, when he makes contact, is he scoring at the ball and just not finding those spots? That's my concern. But overall, yeah, you know what? He was the best hitter in last postseason. For the short postseason we had, he was the best hitter. So, you know what? Maybe he picks it up. I don't know. I'm not saying that he is. I'm just pointing out a fact that last year he was.
I feel like you're saying he was the tallest midget, that you're giving him credit.
Hey, man,
I mean,
I'll take
Federico and Mookie have won
exactly.
Exactly.
So you know what? We're beating a guy who, so hey, you guys are always talking about, Hernandez, Kike. He's a postseason guy. Okay, so then let's just say Smith is a postseason guy then. So same valid argument there. Everybody talks about keep him because he's a postseason guy. Well, maybe Smith is a postseason guy, not a second half guy. So we'll see how he does. I'm not concerned. I think he is the fourth. He should be fourth. I don't the way the lineup is constructed. I mean, Muncy's fifth, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, you got to have him fourth. They keep pushing him back. I think he's been batting sixth lately. Bring him up to fourth. Let him figure it out. But I think he'll be okay for the postseason.
I mean, it really depends on who's on the mound. If it's a righty, I don't think he should be fourth. I think he should be bottom third of the order because you want to get as many lefties in there as possible, which is what the Dodgers have started to do, especially now that they've gotten a lot of left-handed bats back, like Max Muncy, give Kevin Kiermaier a spot start. Tommy Edman is a switch hitter, so he has the luxury of doing that. But yeah, if there's a lefty on the if there's a righty on the mound, I really like when Gavin Lux is in the 3 or 4 hole because this guy knows how to hit all of a sudden in the second half, and he's been arguably the Dodgers' most productive hitter, and he's rewarded them. The Dodgers have rewarded him, moving him up in the order, and I think Teoscar is that new guy to slot in the 4 hole against righties, lefties. I think that's what they've been doing the past couple weeks, and it worked against Corbin Burns, a righty, and he hit a 3-run home run the other day. So, I just feel like Smith, they just want him to be healthy. If they have to move him down the order, so be it.
All right, let's talk about this Freddie Freeman situation. I know they announced that he's going to be starting on Friday against the Serpientes. Look, Canelo already said this. They have all the information, okay? And I'm sure a lot of this information is not being shared publicly. But to have him, a guy who is notorious for not wanting to miss a game, to miss a whole series, does have me scratching my head in terms of what's going on. Now, before he sat these last 3 games, he was 3 for 23. And you have to, it has to cross your mind that finger is bothering him. I mean, he's gripping the bat. It has to somehow impact it. The other thing that I don't think is being talked about enough, and I don't know if this is valid, so I'm throwing it out there to you guys to see if you guys have come across this. But this is a guy who went through a harrowing experience with his son. And we still don't know. Like, there is a long recovery with his son. So his son may not be, he may be doing better, but his son may not be doing great. And maybe that is also like, being in a bad headspace has to impact your performance. Canelo, are you surprised that they had him sit a whole series and they didn't just IL him?
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't IL him for a couple reasons. And, I brought it up in our, off-air chat where if you IL'd him when it happened, you have a situation where you could keep Jason Hayward on the team. You have a situation where that opens up a roster spot. And if the Dodgers didn't want Hayward to get out there and claimed on waivers or sign with another, contender, and just, piece of information for you guys, Hayward his first hit was an RBI double for the Astros in his first at bat. So he's already making us eat our words. But yeah, but
good for Jason Hayward.
I just think it's the same thing with Barnes, fractured, hairline fracture, like these tiny little bones in your hands and your toes, like they don't go away overnight. And especially if you're a hitter, like I could say maybe getting away with foot pain, especially if you're not really expected to perform with your bat, but with your hands, there's a lot going in there with the swing. I just feel like that's definitely uncomfortable for him. It's obviously uncomfortable enough for him to miss an entire series. And I understand, once he missed the first game, I think I knew they were going to just let him rest this entire series. As big as a series as this is, the one coming up this weekend is even bigger. And they want him for those games. And Dave Roberts already said that Freeman will be in the lineup tomorrow. But to go with what you're saying, Juan, all the personal stuff with him and his family, I have no idea how he's playing through that. Like, I couldn't. And if I was playing, I probably wouldn't be performing the best of my ability. And then you add in the fact, he didn't seem pretty happy, when he talked to, the LA Times and the Athletic about, his best friend being DFA'd and being separated from him again, reminiscing of when Hayward was traded to the Cardinals in 2015. So yeah, I feel like it's been a rough couple weeks for Freddie Freeman, and guys, we have to remember he's human, and he has emotions, he has a brain, and he's going through, the thick of everything right now. And the Dodgers, it's also probably a stressful environment because they know each game matters. They have to keep the pace that they're on because the Diamondbacks just don't know how to lose either. I know they lost today, so if they win today, that would be awesome to make up a game on that. But yeah, it's hard for Freeman to continue playing. So just give a lot up for him just to even give it a shot.
Carlos, do you think Freddie's going to figure things out before the playoffs?
Yeah, I think so. I want to just add that that Hayward probably go 0 for 16 in the next 16 at bats. So
I'm telling you, when he holds up that trophy, I'm going to be so happy for that dude. Because
we'll see. No, but just like Danny just wrote, I think Freeman is the professional. I think right now, definitely his son's situation, his personal situation. Then he loses his best friend from the team, and then the finger thing. It's been a rough stretch for the last month now for him. So yeah, it doesn't make sense why he's in a slump and why he does need the time off. And Cody did make a good point. I don't get it either. They should have IL him. You kept Hayward, then you expand the rosters and you bring everybody back, and everybody's happy. But shit happens. And that's what the Dodgers decided to do. And Hayward was the man out, and they didn't want to IL Freddie for whatever reason, and so we are where we are right now. And I think if he comes back for this series against the Diamondbacks, he's rested. I think he'll have a good series. So yeah, I'm positive, man. I everything looks good to me right now. I don't see any there's definitely holes, but just like Cody said, every team has holes. We just know the Dodgers holes better because we cover and we watch the Dodgers all the freaking time. But if we were watching the Orioles every game, we'd say the same shit. Oh, they have this problem, they have that problem, they have this problem. You go to the Phillies, we'd be saying the same thing. So it's just that we're critical of the Dodgers because we watch every single game and watch every single thing that they do. So, but I think they're okay. I think they're figuring things out.
That's what keeps me watching. Carlos the Gambler, is the fact that everyone also has issues with it, but I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. I'm not going to the point to be like, oh, dude, the Dodgers are the best. But it is. The one last thing that I want to just follow up on what you said there, because the Dodgers did have that option. They could have put him on the IL and kept Hayward on. And the fact that they didn't, to me, clearly tells me they had already made up their mind that Hayward was not a part of the future and the postseason. So just rip off the Band-Aid. Why belabor this? Because it would have been even uglier if they would have DFA'd him in September and he wouldn't have been able. Even Hayward today, I read his quote saying he was fully prepared to go back to Chicago. He didn't think he was going to play for the rest of the year, but there was a lot of interest in him. So I get what you're saying, but everything is pointing. So you guys are telling me, all right, we're not going to play him. We're not going to play him because all that matters is this series this weekend. So let's talk about it. The Serpientes. Depending on what happens tonight, they could be 4. The Dodgers could be up 4, or they could be up 3. So there is a scenario that when the Dodgers go to Anaheim, they could be tied for first or no longer in first. So let me start with the optimistic one, Canelo. Carlos the Gambler, what do you expect? I think the Dodgers clearly made some moves to line up pitching for this weekend by having Flaherty pitch on Tuesday. The Serpientes have their best pitchers coming. obviously they want to do some damage in this series. How do you think this is going to play out?
Well, yeah, exactly what you said. The Diamondbacks are putting their best foot forward. They got Gallen starting game 1. So look, realistically, it's a split 2-2. Obviously, I hope it's Dodgers can get 3, but I think realistically it'll probably end up a 2-2. I mean, we know each other so well. I mean, Dodgers play Diamondbacks year in and year out, so many games. So it's going to come down to basically execution, and hopefully the bullpen doesn't get gassed, because it's a long series, 4-game series. So game 1, I didn't even see who's starting for the Dodgers. Did they post it yet?
It'll be Kershaw.
Kershaw, right?
Okay, yeah. So look, Kershaw has to go 5-6. Is he? I don't know. I hope so, because if he only goes 4, and we got to pick up 5 of those innings, the bullpen, then that's a bad start for the rest of the series. So that's critical. The first game's gonna be critical to it's gonna give us a foreshadowing of what the series is gonna look like for the bullpen. Offensively, I'm not worried with the Dodgers. I think they can match with the Diamondbacks. I mean, Diamondbacks, I think Marte is out right now, I think. Yeah. And then you guys, I didn't know Walker was out. So Walker's out, but you guys are saying he might come back. So look, they're missing.
He's not going to come back for this series. He won't be for this series. Okay.
So there you go. So they're missing 2 of their top guys. Oh, we still have to deal with I guess what's his name? Corbin Carroll. He's figured it out. I guess he had a rough start, and he's hitting again.
He's been on a tear in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I dropped him for my fantasy baseball team. So now that he's hitting, shit, screw this guy, man. So no, you know what? Like I said, they know each other well. I think it's going to be a split. I was thinking about going down there just to catch at least maybe 1 or 2 games, but I don't know. It's gonna, but let's just. I mean, I think how we line up. If the pitching lines up, especially starting pitching, I think we'll be okay. But if we falter in the first game and we eat up a lot of innings bullpen wise, then yeah, it's going to be a long series.
Canelo, what are your expectations? What do you think? What should be ready to see this weekend?
Well, yeah, let's break it down with how hot Arizona has been since the second half. Since the All-Star break ended, in terms of National League rankings between both Dodgers and D-backs offense, Arizona's offense has been on a whole nother level right now, but the Dodgers necessarily haven't been too far behind them. In terms of home runs, Arizona has 63. They're ranked 2nd in the National League. LA's ranked 3rd with 52. In terms of runs scored, D-backs, they're first by a lot. I think they cleared the second team by like 25 runs. They have 230 runs since the All-Star break, 1st in the National League, I think 1st in all of baseball. Dodgers trailing them. They're in 4th in the National League with 177 runs scored, so top 5. K percentage, that's where, Carlos already mentioned the Dodgers strike out a lot. Arizona doesn't. They're the 3rd lowest in the National League at 18.7%. LA is the 9th highest at 23.8%. That's just part of their game, unfortunately. In terms of batting average as well, LA, they kind of are in the middle of the pack. They still have a lot of guys that are low 200 hitters. And then if you look at their slash line in terms of WRC plus since the second half, Arizona has a 134, so they've been playing 34% over league average, and the Dodgers are just barely over that at 107. So, the Dodgers are getting it done offensively, but the D-backs have just taken it to a whole nother level. The thing that, surprisingly separates these teams right now, even with all the injuries that the Dodgers have in their rotation, is that their pitching's been a lot better, not only for the entire season, but also since the All-Star break. And the Dodgers are lining up a pretty decent, 4-game set. We already mentioned Kershaw's going game 1. Gavin Stone's going game 2. Jack Flaherty's going game 3. Or game 3 is TBD. It's potentially going to be Robleski coming back up again.
I figured they would do something like that because with Flaherty pitching on Tuesday, it's normal rest if he pitched on Sunday. But know the Dodgers don't subscribe to normal rest. You say normal rest, and the Dodgers go, what? What's that?
Yeah, and then Flaherty will get that series finale on a wraparound on Monday to finish it out. And, today's game before it gets started, I think it's a must-win. The Dodgers need to win this. They need to take another game lead over the D-backs just in case everything goes wrong and they get swept in Arizona. They do not play well in Arizona the past couple years. Kershaw statistically has, I think it's his second highest ERA in terms of National League ballparks, like 3.5 in Chase Field. We've seen him struggle against the Diamondbacks in the past in Chase Field. Gavin Stone, Jack Flaherty, and then, if Robleski is that arm that's going on, at the latter half of the series, you don't really know what you're going to get there. We've seen him have some highs, but we've also seen him struggle with command, much like most of this Dodgers rotation. But I'm very optimistic for this series. I think the Dodgers, they need to win it. They need to win at least three games. They have to win 3 games because not only if the D-backs win 2 games, they win the season series. And I don't think the Dodgers can afford to have lost both season series and both tiebreakers to the Diamondbacks and the San Diego Padres. They just can't allow it to happen, especially with both teams still, on pace to get very close to tying them in wins, because say if they all tie, Dodgers are in third place if they don't have the tiebreaker over anybody. And I don't think that's gonna finish that way, but you have to plan for that. And I think the Dodgers need to make a statement. I think they need to go into Arizona and take care of business. Would I be okay with the split? Yes, just because given where the teams are both at, both playing really, really well. If they ended up splitting, I would say, okay, 2 really good teams split a series. If this was the NLDS, we'd be going back to Los Angeles for Game 5. So there's a lot to take away from this series. I think it's gonna be a playoff atmosphere, at least for me watching. I don't know if a lot of the fans are gonna go out there for in Arizona. So Carlos, you may get some seats for cheap if you decide to go, but yeah, I have high expectations for the series. So if they don't win 3, I'm going to be pretty disappointed.
Look, I agree with you in the sense that I do think tonight's game against the Orioles, and we're going to take you guys up right to the start of that game. So make sure you stick with us up until game time. I think it's a big game tonight for a couple of reasons. It'll extend the lead, but I also think it is a little bit of a confidence booster. Because like I said, the Orioles are a good team. Like the Orioles are fighting to win their division. And I think the other reason why it's a big deal, if they win the series against the Orioles and take 2 out of 3, they would have won this series with Flaherty losing game 1. And you won games where Walker Buehler and Bobby Miller pitched. And I think that's a big thing. That's a big deal. Like, if they can win games, because the thing that I think is missing from Walker Buehler and Bobby Miller is I just don't see any confidence in those guys. And I'm curious to see if they start getting confident, if that will change their performance, if you will start seeing results. So I do think tonight is a very big game. I want to bring in the most positive person on here. Babyface, what are you expecting in Arizona?
Yeah, I probably agree with what you guys said. I see at least a split, 2-2, but 3 out of 4 would be the best case scenario. But I'll be fine if they go in there and split. It's not, to me, it's not a make or break series, like you said. That make or break series is in the DS or whatever, right? So whatever happens, happens. But yeah, it'd be great for the Dodgers to go and, like I said, split bare minimum. But even if they lost the series, I'm not going to be like, it doesn't matter, right? And I know I sound like a broken record. It doesn't matter what happens right now. It's October. It's always October. And yeah, it'd be great to push that lead further, but they could win this series and end up losing in October, right? We've seen that happen. So, it is kind of just a measuring stick, kind of see where you're at, kind of get a good feel for each other for potential playoff series. But that's pretty much all that it is. And I'm not putting too much stake in this series because, you still got another month to play.
I know a lot of people have made up about the fact that maybe the Dodgers won't benefit from having a week off if they are a 1 or a 2 seed, that they should start playing right from the beginning. But I'm curious, Canelo, if any year maybe it would benefit them this year, as it would buy more time for guys like Glasnow and Yamamoto, or is it like Babyface says, look, winning the division is meaningless, especially now with the new playoff format. It's just about playing good baseball and getting in and being hot.
Yeah, I've had people on social media kind of comment to me or ask me, like, what do I think? And I just shoot it down. What team wouldn't want the week off? I think every team, if you gave them the option to set up their rotation, give their lineup a break, and give everything, square from the jump, I think every team should take that opportunity. And every team has agreed that they want that opportunity. There's only been like one vocal team about it in terms of saying we don't want the bye or maybe there is an issue, and it wasn't the Dodgers. It was the Braves. Brian Stickner, he's the one that made some comments about it, I believe, earlier in the season. But look at a team like the Phillies, back-to-back years where they were the NL wildcard winner. They rolled through the playoffs. They went to the World Series in 22, came a game just short in 2023, and we saw the Arizona Diamondbacks. Obviously, that's recency bias, but I've explained. This team particularly needs the break. They need a week off. They need to let these guys get healthy. They need to set up their rotation, because if you're going to go straight into the wild card, I think it starts a day after the regular season's over. And if you're playing down to the wire to win this division, which I think they will, I think it will come down to the final probably 10 games. Your guys are going to be tired and they're going to need a break. And I just don't agree with anybody saying, well, maybe they would benefit from playing the wild card, because you don't know at the end of the day. And I'll agree with Roger where, yeah, it's October or nothing, but this series significance is like what I said, where it's like you don't want to lose the season series to two of your teams already. Not only does that not do much for you in, morally, you're saying, oh, well, we didn't do well against the D-backs and the Padres. Well, guess what? If we finish with the number one seed, that's who they're playing. They're playing one of or the other. Seems like the NL, playoff, bracket is starting to pretty much take shape right now, where it seems like it's going to be 3 NL West teams and then 2 NL East teams, and then the Central winner. So Dodgers got to get it right.
Juan, I just wanted to add that, because I was going to mention what Roger said, because I agree with Roger. Look, don't get me wrong. I would love to take a sweep of this series, okay? But what does it really mean in the overall scheme of things? It means nothing, because the Dodgers beat the Diamondbacks 3 games in August, end of August last year. It was 7-4, 9-1, and 7-0. So they didn't just beat them. They really beat them clearly and didn't make a difference for the playoffs. Somehow the Diamondbacks, I don't know what they did in the last month, but they figured it out and they beat the Dodgers. So it overall thing is just, they have to just play baseball. If they lose a close game because of maybe a walk-off or something, it doesn't matter.
Not hitting with runners in scoring position?
Maybe. But they have to. The split is what we need. But I don't think it makes a big. Like I said, in the overall scheme of things, it's just not like a big thing. Yeah. And then So what are you gonna say, Cody?
My only thing, I would agree with that too. But last year they won the division by 16 games. This year it's so close where a series like this will linger. Like last year they were saying, all right, well, we already won the division in August. This year it's like, all right, are we gonna win the division at all? That's why I think there's more significance compared to last year and the year before that.
Right. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was playing for the wild card or playing to win the division and be the number one seed in the National League. Look, whatever happens. Whatever the Dodgers end up with, if they take the wild card and they got to keep playing, then they got to keep playing. I don't want them to say, oh, we got to lose to continue playing, or, we got to kill ourselves to just get number one. Just whatever happens. Just keep playing baseball. Don't change what you were doing right now. If we continue doing what we're doing and we're still number one, we have the best record in the National League, then we should end up that way. So, I think putting too much on those items or those outcomes, I don't know. I think it's just unnecessary, personally.
We shall see. Okay, I want to switch gears because, like I said, we're going to take you guys up to the start of the game tonight between the Dodgers and the Orioles, 7:10 start. But Carlos the Gambler is, if you guys didn't know this, but he has himself a Ohtani. So I want to spend the last few minutes talking about this madness that happened yesterday. The first thing that I saw was our friend Elisa Hernandez had a video that went viral. I saw everybody sharing her video because she was pulling into the stadium at 11 o'clock in the morning for a 7:00 game, and there was already a line out the door. Now, our man on the street, Carlos the Gambler, was there. Carlos, I want you to talk me through this because they ended up opening the gates early, but also not only just the gates to get into Dodger Stadium, but they opened the gates early at the stadium, letting fans in, right? Look at that. First of all, tell me about the sweat trophies. Why were you sweating so much, bro? Was it hot, or was it the gold tawny gave you the fevers? Did you have the fevers?
Looks like a kid on Christmas morning.
It is, man. You know what it is? It's first of all, I actually, believe it or not, Juan, I enjoy the madness. I get a kick out of it.
You're an adrenaline junkie, aren't you?
I love it. It's like keeps me young, man. It's fun. You know, for all the people that critique all these guys like running for the bobblehead, getting in line. It's fun. Honestly, it's good, clean fun. I don't see where people get so upset about, oh, this guy got 1,000 bobbleheads. Well, the guy bought 1,000 tickets. You know, he paid tickets just like you, and he showed up and he brought his 20 kids or whatever family members to get 5 each. So look, I got there.
Did you see the picture of the girl who just totally got shamed? You saw it, right?
Yes.
She got shamed. She had clear bags. And I wish La Princesa de Picolandia was on here because she did that with the World Series rings. What? She was walking around with a clear bag and you see all these rings. And I'm just like, hey, Princesa, can I have one? Oh, I don't have any. The bag is clear. I can see that you have 20 of them. But anyways, go ahead.
So that was another wonderful. That was a great day too. That one, I'll share that later. But look, just my personal experience. I left my house like around 11:30, 12 o'clock. Went with my son and a friend of mine, and we got some burritos, some tacos. We knew there's gonna be a line, got some beer, you know, and we were tailgating on Scott Avenue because it was backed up. That's the main entrance for season ticket holders. So we were backed up. My son wasn't drinking, I was drinking and having the burrito. And then at 2:30 we started walking towards the front of the gate, and so we got to the top of Gate B. So if you guys know Gate B, there was about 600 people standing out there. And so
wait a minute. What time did they actually open that gate? And we're talking about the gate to get into the parking lot.
The parking lot. Correct. Yeah. The parking lot at about 3. That one opened at 3:10, about 3:10.
Yeah,
but
that gate normally opens for a 7:00 game at what, 4:30?
Yeah, and you know what it was? It wasn't even for cars. It was to allow people to get in. And so we knew that it was going to be like this mad dash, you know? And it's like, we all knew that 600 people are going to get in line. You're going to get it anyways. But it was just the fun, you know? People like, somebody said, hey, everybody's running. And literally there's a video with all these people running. And, you know, I'm guilty. I'm one of them. But I get a kick out of it, you know? So I'm running, you know, I kind of get my cardio in. And I'm watching these people run. I'm like, I'm going to pass these people up because, you know, I jog every so often. So yeah, I got in line, and then the cool story is I got my buddy there and another guy, and at some point I had like 8 people that I brought into line, and they were like, no cutting in line. And so the lady behind me was upset, and I said, look, just so you're not upset, I will let you go in front of me. So she brought her friend and her son. I let them go in front of me, and she was happy. And see, the good karma paid off, and I ended up with the Gooooold Ohtani. That's how it works.
All right. So we're gonna get to the.
Let's see, Carlos. Put it up closer. Let's put it up.
We're gonna get to the Gooooold Ohtani. All right. I want to know. So once you guys are lining up to get into the stadium, is this true? I heard that the lines were 1,000 deep, like at each entrance, whether it was Loge, whether it was the center field plaza, whether it was the reserve. Is that true?
The answer is yes. So I came in at 3:40, so I was in line at 3:40. The gates open for us at 3:40 for season ticket holders. I got this Ohtani like around, I don't know, maybe 4 o'clock, whatever. So we had extra tickets. So we went to my car to drop off some extra bobbleheads, and then we came back. And what you're saying, I had never seen anything like that before. Every single ticket, you know, every entrance was like, 1,000 people deep. I mean, it was insane. You've seen the videos on the news with the helicopter, the overhead shots. Loge came down. I don't even know what parking lot it is, but it came down that way. The season ticket holders went all the way to lot F. It was nightmare. And if you know like little tricks to the trade, you know where to line up to get in really quick. But overall, then the second gate, the main gate for the general public opened at 4. I think it was 4:30 at 4:30, and that's when everybody came in. So you know what? Like I said, it's clean fun. I had a good time. That lady that was like you were talking about that was blasted on different Facebook groups.
Yeah.
She's a nice lady. I know who she is.
You know her?
I know them. Yeah, I know them. I know her husband. They're good people. They're good people. They're just like, they found a niche. I mean, it's a market. It's like I was telling you guys when people resell everything, man. We resell baseball cards. We resell old furniture. I mean, look, they just resold Babe Ruth's old uniform from his college shot for like $29 million. So what are people complaining about, man? You just get there, get your stuff, and if you can't get it, then you're gonna have to buy in the secondary market. That's why eBay's in business. That's the secondary market. So offer up. So you know what, people, I don't get why people get so bent out of shape. I think it's fun. Go ahead.
Is there even anybody that went to that game that didn't get a bobblehead? Because
that's what I was saying. I haven't seen nothing like online. Like people complain, I didn't get one. I was there. They cut it off in front of me. I haven't seen anything like that. Are there people out there?
You got one, right, Babyface?
Yeah.
You didn't get a Ohtani though, but you got a regular one, right?
Yeah. I actually got 2. Well, because I had bought one in case I wasn't going to the game. So I had to go pick that one up, and then we got one in the press box. But
you're right. I haven't heard any of that either. Right. I haven't heard anybody say. So, Canelos, tell me how it felt once you go through there, because it wasn't clear. It was in a box, so you had to pull it out. And I think it was Canelos that said, he was just like, that's it. It lost its value because it's open box.
Yes, exactly.
You had to open it. So tell me. The whole army that you had with you, because you're not telling the truth. I know you have all these people there specifically to get the gold time. They deliver to you if they pull it. Right? Yeah.
So, look, when I walked in, I had 5 tickets, so I had 5 bobbleheads, and I was, we went right into there's little information booth, and I went over there, put the bobbleheads down, and actually this kid next to me, he said he looked at the box and he goes, "Oh, you got it," and without opening the box. So you don't have to open the box. So I'm going to keep it, Cody. So I don't care if it loses its value, because so you would know if you had it. I don't know if you can see in the screen, but you see the little paw on the purple moon. Can you see it, Cody? Okay. Yeah. So that little paw tells you it was a gold one. The next identifier was the A on the cereal box, and on the end of the number, I don't know if you can see it. I think right there, the A.
Yeah, I can see it.
That also gives it up. So you didn't have to open it if you didn't want to open it. You knew you had it. You just open the lid and just look at it. So the guy knew. He told me, and I was like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah." It was fair this time, though. Remember, we were complaining about the gray, how they had a window, so people knew that. So the kids who give out the bobbleheads, they were putting them aside.
Yeah,
they were probably told to put them aside, and they were putting them away in like containers and stuff so that they could give it to somebody else. This one was completely a fair. It was like it was done right. It was a sealed box. Nobody knew about the paw. Just very few limited people knew about it, and I only knew about the A just this morning when somebody had posted it. So it was done correctly, and it was a good feeling, man. It's like, you know what? I mean, it's selling for like $1,200. I'm not gonna sell it. I'm keeping it. I'm a collector, so I like playing with my dolls. So no,
right.
it's
and I was telling you, we have 2 people from this show that got golden Ohtanis. The other person's not
That's
here.
right.
Alicia got one too.
La Princesa de Picolandia.
Yeah. So I went out. When I went to go pick up mine that I had to get from the entrance. I was walking out and I saw her. She was there with a couple of friends and her sister, and she was just standing around. And I'm like, "Oh, so what'd you get? Did you get the golden Ohtani?" She's like, "Oh, I didn't even check. We just got them, put them in they're in a bag." And so they pulled them out. They gave her one. She opens it up, and it's the golden Ohtani. So, just the
there you go.
The golden Ohtani.
Yeah.
Right there, the Bleed Lows podcast with I just want to put this out there for all of you guys who showed up at 11 o'clock, and there were reports, and I don't know if this is true, that someone was there at 4:30 in the morning. But all these people that showed up there this early, I know you guys probably know her because she's very famous on social media, but FedEx, Serena, showed up at 6:20 in the afternoon, walked right into the gate, no traffic, no anything, and she got herself a bobblehead. So just saying,
They made like 60,000 of those. They had.
Yeah,
to
so
have.
I want to know if there's anybody that didn't get it, because it seems like I said, I haven't seen it. And if you're rolling up at 6:20, 6:30, especially on that giveaway night, you would think you're not getting anything. So
exactly.
I want to know if somebody in the chat was at the game and didn't get one, let us know.
All right, but we're gonna take you up until the start of the game, which is in about 5 minutes. So we haven't. I don't know if we have any Danny Duffy nominees. So if anybody if we want to do the Danny Duffy Award on the Gooooold, please let me know. I know I'm a nominee. Oh wow, Jay! Look at Denny. Denny's breaking news. My son just said Jay Hay did the Freddie on base. Wow, so Jay Hay is using the Dodgers celebration in Houston.
He probably forgot where he was at.
I think, Denny, what you're telling me is you're nominating Jason Hayward for the Danny Duffy Award based on what happened there. Roy Estrada nominates Will Smith. Dennis Gonzalez is also nominating Will Smith. So we got two nominations for Will Smith. Let's see here. Yes, exactly, Doom Sal. But I will say this. It wasn't my internet, Doom Sal. I knocked the cord out. So that was the problem there. All right. So far, these are the nominees that we have. We have Will Smith and we have myself. Do we want to include Jason Hayward for doing the Freddie in a Houston Astros uniform?
Yes.
No?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, why not?
All right.
But I think Roy's got it right, man. Will Smith yesterday, that was watching that live was ridiculous. I mean, he had so much time to just at some point turn around and throw the ball, but he was like, no, I'm not sure about this. And then it was that was a bad play.
Did you know it hit the ground, Carlos? Because
I did.
He did.
I did. Yeah, I know it hit
and
the
he
ground.
was right there. Like it was right in front of him.
Yeah.
He didn't know.
It was clear it hit the ground. Yeah, because
All right,
either
so
that or
here
he
we
kicked
go.
it off his bat.
All right, let's get this. So, all right, time to get your votes in. And starting now, the nominees are me, Juan, for just sucking in life, Jason Hayward, and Will Smith. All right, go ahead and put your votes in now. We're going to cut this off. You have 45 seconds, guys. Put in your votes. After Simeon is when I'm going to start counting the votes. All right, you got 40 seconds left. We are going to take you right up to the start of the game today. So there we go. We got our first vote. Roy Estrada is voting for Will Smith. We got Will Smith in the lead. Dennis Gonzalez comes in with Will Smith. So Will Smith is up 2-0. We have 25 seconds, guys. 25 seconds before we shut off the votes here. Ryan, Will Smith, early dementia. So we got 3 votes for Will Smith. Doom Sal has 4 votes for Will Smith. Are we going to have an actual shutout? 10 seconds, guys. Get those last votes in. This may be unanimous. Simeon with Will Smith. Canelos with Will Smith. And last vote. We're cutting it off here. Will it be unanimous? And I think this will be the first time he wins it. All right. I'm calling it, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to Will Smith for winning the Danny Duffy Award tonight on a unanimous vote. So once again, I want to thank you guys for joining us on the live. Go watch the Doyers. Hopefully they beat the Orioles and win this series. Before we sign off, Canelo, any articles, anything on Dodgers beat that our listeners, our viewers should be checking out?
Yeah, mentioned earlier in the episode, but I put out a pretty big in-depth analysis article on Gavin Stone. Make sure to read that. I'll have a preview article for the upcoming D-back series. I'm going to go the nitty-gritty of all the stats going into this one and how important this series is. And yeah, and just continue visiting the site, continue watching the videos, and that's pretty much it.
So that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. We want to thank I want to thank Carlos the Gambler for sacrificing his life and going to Ohtani Bobblehead night and getting the gold Tani. We didn't even get into Decoy's your first pitch, ceremonial first pitch. Also, real quick shout out before we sign off. Doom Sal has an article on Dodgers Beat on Yamamoto's rehab start. So make sure you guys check that out also. Make sure that if we have any first timers on here that are coming across us, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. We got a lot of stuff on there. We have interviews. We have pregame and postgame coverage of the Dodgers homestand. Babyface, are we going to have somebody in Arizona to cover the Serpientes series?
Yes. Just looks like one game.
Okay, so we will have coverage. So make sure, again, you're following us on our YouTube page. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast has been brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. Nos vemos, everybody.